You said it's an immigrant story. It's a political movie. MAGA today is going nuts. What do you have to say to MAGA?
Come on now, dog. Come on, man.
Guys, I'm starting to think that the media isn't anybody's friend. Something weird is happening between the media and Hollywood. It used to be that they were birds of a feather, and I mean, they largely still are. They sing the same tune, are trapped in the same ideological bubble, and give each other perks and benefits for collaborating. Ever wonder why we call them the access media? It's because they give mutual access to each other's butthole. Publicity pipelines. But something weird is happening. Lately, the media will report that a movie or a show has elements in it that aren't actually there. Or, at the very least, they'll exaggerate aspects that they know will turn off a good majority of the movie-going public. Which is a weird thing to do to your friends in the entertainment portion of the media, and it kind of looks a little bit like a soft sabotage. And now, this seems to have happened twice in quick succession. The first to James Gunn's Superman movie, and now Marvel's Fantastic Four First Steps. Both movies had the press practically giddy over elements that are divisive in the modern day, but neither actually had them upon viewing. It's almost like the media is lying to us.
Get the fuck out of here. No, I cannot. It's serious.
Let's start with Superman, the highly anticipated ground zero for James Gunn's DCEU. Now, this would be a film that Gunn would need all the goodwill in the world for, because this would be the world's first impression into what Warner Brothers hopes would finally be its MCU, a multi-billion-dollar money printing machine wearing spandex. So it would mean that Gunn & Co. would have to go out of their way to make sure that nobody said anything that could be considered remotely divisive. Right? Right? On July 4th, 2025, the year of our Lord, The Times released an article reporting that James Gunn said his Superman is going to offend some people. But it's in this article that The Times did something peculiar. They kicked off a section of the article by tying Superman to Trump-era policies, because why not ruin everything with politics these days? They even went so far as to reach deep for an obscure official reference, and found an Italian book from the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees titled Superman Was a Refugee Too. Then, after all that, they give you a quote by Gunn, who said, "I mean, Superman is the story of America, an immigrant that came from other places and populated the country. But for me, it is mostly a story that says basic human kindness is a value and is something we have lost." Then, the Times article tells you it tried to get Gunn to comment on red vs. blue state reception, to which Gunn said it likely will play differently. Gunn added, "But it's about human kindness, and obviously, there will be jerks out there who are just not kind and will take it as offensive just because it is about kindness. But screw them." The Times then launches into an entire paragraph about Gunn having trouble with right-leaning influencers and his temporary ousting from Disney, just to drive the point home. But keep in mind that Gunn still hasn't said anything that bashes a particular ideology in this article. And you can see as the article goes on that the Times keeps trying to bait Gunn into saying something ideologically divisive, but he keeps bringing it back to the middle by making it about kindness. Also note that the Times does not tell you what questions they asked Gunn in order to get him into the conversation about that comparison, but clearly a question was asked. Still, they got what they needed, and the Times pubbed a piece that made it sound like James Gunn was intentionally trying to make a political statement with his film. It's a media magic trick. You ask a loaded question, you cherry-pick the answer, and poof, instant narrative. No context required, outrage guaranteed. But it gets worse. Variety, that bastion of journalist integrity, decided to take the Times narrative and turn it up to 11. First, they title their article, "James Gunn Says Superman is About an Immigrant That Came from Other Places and How We've Lost the Value of Basic Human Kindness, yes, it's about politics." Now you might be wondering, where did the "it's about politics" line come in? For that, we have to go back to the Times interview, where Gunn was referencing a scene where Lois and Clark are doing an interview that turns into a couple's argument. Gunn was describing how you can grab an audience using a philosophical conversation about right and wrong action. Now, talking about that argument, he said, yes, it's about politics, but on another level, it's about morality. Do you never kill no matter what, which is what Superman believes, or do you have some balance, as Lois believes? It's really about their relationship and the way different opinions on basic moral beliefs can tear two people apart. Yet Variety was making it sound like Gunn was intentionally using Superman to weigh in on a political debate by taking the hatchet job that the Times did and then further hacking that up to further a narrative that wasn't even true to begin with. So Variety blatantly took James Gunn out of context in order to get people angry and willing to fight with each other. Now, this sparked a firestorm where right-leaning outlets dogged Superman for being woke. Fox News weighed in, and at that point, Superman became a beachhead in the culture war. A beachhead where James Gunn never fired a shot. Then, of course, in comes Variety's Mark Malkin, a man of unparalleled asshattery, to try to get Gunn to reinforce a false narrative they created. And to his credit, Gunn didn't bite.
You said it's an immigrant story. It's a political movie. MAGA today is going nuts. What do you have to say to MAGA?
I don't have anything. I think this movie's for everybody. I don't have anything to say to anybody. Like, I'm not here to judge people, you know. I think this is a movie about kindness, and I think that's something everyone can relate to.
But at that point, the damage was done. Of course, Gunn's brother, Sean Gunn, couldn't help but take the bait.
We support our people, you know? We love our immigrants. Yes, Superman is an immigrant. And yes, the people that we support in this country are immigrants. And if you don't like that, then you're not American.
We won't know how many people decided to skip Superman because they thought that Gunn was going to use it as a political cudgel to beat people over the head with. But the point is that the Times and Variety released those two articles, and those two articles killed a lot of goodwill toward the movie. And goodwill affects box office numbers. And after leaving the theater myself, it was pretty clear to me that the immigrant angle was hardly a factor. In fact, the group of people really hoping the film backed their side of the immigration debate were probably really disappointed because having Kal-El's parents telling him that they sent him to Earth to kick ass and bitches like a filthy colonizer isn't exactly making their case.
Get them hoes, as many hoes as you can.
Yes, get all them hoes, my son.
In fact, I've noticed, and this might be a coincidence, that the Superman is an immigrant movie narrative died real fast after it premiered. So, bottom line, the media lied to you.
Get the fuck out of here! Somebody else.
Color me shocked. Then there was the Fantastic Four First Steps movie, which, if you haven't watched your 8th review of it yet, you can watch my initial review right here. Fantastic Four was actually a film that had a lot of rumors attached to it, such as Johnny Storm being gay. Now, this stemmed from an interview where Joseph Quinn downplayed Storm's womanizing nature, but thankfully that wasn't true, and
Johnny loves women.
they still talked it all behind Johnny being obsessed with the Silver Surfer, because God forbid Marvel have a heroic straight white guy who likes sex with women, but I digress. The most infamous rumor that the media spread was that Sue Storm was now the leader of the Fantastic Four. This got started because of a Collider article that quoted producer Grant Curtis, who said, "If you do go back through the comics, you realize that Sue Storm is arguably the leader of the Fantastic Four, because without Sue Storm, everything falls apart." Saying it falls apart as a qualifier for being leader of the Fantastic Four is kind of stupid, because it's called the Fantastic Four, and it falls apart without any of them. But again, I digress. The thing is, reading the language in this Collider article, you kind of see buzzwords that you would find in gender studies students' essays. They talk about how they're getting away from the male-gazing era of the Jessica Alba Sue Storm, and the movie refusing to, quote, acquiesce to a cute, sexy version of how men perceive femininity.
Bananas.
And none of this was helped by Pedro Pascal, because of course it wasn't. I love being led in a way. What you may identify as generosity for me, it just isn't. I'm only inspired by, I guess just powerful women have been the thing that has gotten me through being alive. Every day that Pedro Pascal grabs another man's wife is another day he can make it through. And this got picked up by other outlets like comicbookmovie.com and Big Issue, who added "as she should be" to their title about Sue Storm's leadership. And once again, this ignited an entire firestorm on the internet with people swearing that they were not going to go see the movie because they didn't want to have to slog through another Disney Marvel girl boss film. Then the movie dropped, and once again, we saw the truth. Reed Richards is definitely the leader in this film, but Sue Storm is its heart. What I found to be very unmarvel is the fact that despite Sue Storm being decisive and badass and displaying a tremendous amount of power, she does so in the name of, wait for it, motherhood. Sue's arc is based around trying to protect her baby from a mob, circumstance, and a cosmic lowercase g god, and every bit of her badassery is fueled by that singular objective. Shocked, I tell you. It was refreshing to see a woman in a Disney movie not be a girl boss to defy societal expectations or reveal her own power to herself.
Us Queen, Skinny Legend, Versace boots the house down. Slay Queen, Hunty Mama, and Oop Daddy work. Charlie X, yet snatch my...
But what we all expected to happen, with Sue Storm being the leader of the Fantastic Four, didn't. Once again, the media lied and likely killed off some box office bank in the process. Now, this time, the media did get help from the producer and the actors in the film, but we still didn't see the questions that Collider asked, so we don't know how they framed it to get the answers that they clearly wanted. Now, the question to ask is, why are they doing this? Aren't the media and Hollywood friends? Why put your friends in danger of losing a lot of money? For a long time, we just accepted that Hollywood was okay with this level of virtue signaling because, they were doing it too. But now we can see two instances where the media purposefully misrepresented what was actually in the movie. So there seems to be a disconnect here, almost like the left hand doesn't understand what the right hand's doing until it's done. My theory? As a guy who worked in the media and still does, it makes me think that the access media is abiding by an old unspoken rule in the press. If it bleeds, it leads. Now this can be very literal, but figuratively speaking, it means that the most shocking or engaging thing that you can report is what gets reported. Now the access media knows that the culture war is a hotbed of flame wars and debates. And you can easily farm rage clicks and video views by posting things that are guaranteed to make people mad. They know you'll get mad when they tell you another woman is taking over a male lead in a beloved franchise, especially after audiences have been very clear that they want this to stop. And they know it's going to upset people when they suggest a major superhero movie is going to be used as a political statement in the modern times for one side. They're banking on you getting mad, reposting, fighting in the comments, and referencing their video or article again and again and again. Whether you love it or hate it, it doesn't matter. They get paid either way. Now, if I'm right, and this is all about rage baiting and click farming, then I think it's only a matter of time before Hollywood gets fed up and pushes back. Now, it could be a lawsuit here, a legal threat there, and outlets like Variety will start double-checking their headlines. But more likely, these studios will probably start pulling what the access media covets most: their access. Some of these outlets live or die on it, and if they revoke it, then that's a lot of clicks that just evaporate into thin air. And that is piles of cash that go with it. We're talking no early screeners, no press junket invites, no one-on-one interviews, no set visits, no scoops or exclusives, no legal battle necessary. You just threaten to monetarily choke them to death, and they will stop biting the hand that feeds them. I think there are definitely signs that Hollywood is trying to roll back the socio-political infection that's plagued it for so long, and in order for them to achieve that fully, they have to rein in the media. And once they do that, we might see Hollywood improve. Might. But trying to rope in the media is like trying to handle an angry chihuahua. You're going to get bit, and it's your fault for working with a chihuahua anyway. I'm just kidding. You're the sweetest baby ever. At the end of the day, the media is not on your side. They're not even on Hollywood's side when it's all said and done. They are on the side of shock and outrage because the clicks must flow. It's really annoying, but thankfully we have Sydney Sweeney's jeans doing the Lord's work. Later.